What's up, guys? It's Trun from Sports Chimps. Today's November 30th, 2021. I didn't upload yesterday because, well, here's the thing, right? I recorded the video. Everything's all well and great. Discussed some very great topics for the date of November 29th, but I didn't have my laptop, so I couldn't upload it. Sucks, but we're here today, right? So I have the footage. It's on my camera. It's on my computer, but, well, now it is, but no one's going to see it except for me if I ever decide to rewatch it. Maybe I'm bored. Maybe it's 2 a.m. at night and I can't sleep. I'm going through old files for the hell of it. And I doubt this ever happens, but it's a realistic scenario. Somewhat realistic. It's hyper realistic, right? So, maybe, right? Okay, November 30th today. Some good things to discuss. Great games today. Absolutely great games. TNC had a great doubleheader. First things first, though, let's discuss a few headlines from today. Jalen Suggs, big injury. At least big injury for him, because these types of injuries for rookies are kind of big. I think they're really big, actually, because here's the thing. So he broke a bone in his finger, and he's had a rookie season, which means that low efficiency just really hasn't been the player that he's developing. He hasn't been the player that you thought he would be. But he is still developing. I personally didn't have much faith in him going into this year. I wasn't as high on him as the other people in the draft area, but whatever the case may be, he's had a really bad rookie year. But these things he's going to take time to develop, but this injury is really big because, and I think you see a lot of these injuries in like these rookie seasons where, not a lot, but these types of injuries kind of, I wouldn't say make or break, but it's a really big part of someone's career because they need the time to develop, and this is a big roadblock, and you see it a lot in rookies. So it's on Jalen Suggs to really get over this roadblock himself. It's a mental thing now, right? It's in his head. It's like, man, I just, all these things aren't going right for me. Just broke my finger. I haven't been playing that great. He's got to decide like how much he really wants it, and I'm like a 17-year-old in my basement right now, so I have done nothing to like talk on this type of situation, but this is what happens to a lot of rookies. So he's definitely got to take some time and like just regroup, get back into it mentally, and come back stronger than before. And I really hope he does. Even though I wasn't that high on him, I really do hope the best for anyone, right, in these types of situations. Next thing I want to discuss, another injury would be MPJ's injury, right? So MPJ is out for the rest of the year with another back surgery. So he's had a bad history with back. That was his biggest gripe going into the draft. So basically, here's the story that he said himself on the Old Man and the Tree podcast with JJ Redick, and it was just basically like, so going into his first freshman year at Mizzou, he was the number one ranked prospect, and he was going to go number one overall if the draft happened at that time. And he still possesses skill. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. This whole time he's had the skills to be the number one overall pick. But 3 games into his career at Mizzou, I believe it's around 3. Maybe it's a little less. Maybe it's a little more. He had a big back surgery, ended his season, and he still declared for the draft, right? So he took that whole season to recover for himself, get better, and once draft time came around, he was recovered from that back injury specifically. So, great. That's great. All's well in that situation. But he had his first pre-draft workout. So this is pre-draft time. He was honestly fully recovered. And then he had first pre-draft workout. A lot of teams showed up, and he performed amazingly well. And the Kings, actually, at that time, they were so confident in him. They're like, we're going to take you at number 2 overall. Because the number 1 overall pick was determined to be DeAndre Ayton. And like people knew that he was going to go number 1 overall because it was just a great fit for the Suns at the time. But then MPJ said too, let's take him. He definitely has the skills he possesses the skills to be the number 2 overall pick. I think he was the number 1 overall player in terms of just pure talent, even over Luka in pre-draft, right? But then he had another second draft workout scheduled, and at this point though, he had insane back pain. It was just terrible. But then he already had that. He wanted to cancel it, right? But he already had that thing scheduled, so he still showed up. But this time it was just a bunch of team doctors that showed up, along with the team scouts, to just run tons of tests on him. And then the nail in the coffin would be when the LA team doctor was like, this kid's never going to play in a game ever. So that happened, and then that took a real hinder on him on his draft stock. So he fell all the way to 14th to the Nuggets, and the Nuggets were really only able to take him simply due to the fact that if they didn't get him, they wouldn't be affected that much because they still had a very well-rounded roster. They just somehow possessed the last pick in the lottery. And you can even see now that they don't have MPJ right now this season. They're still performing extremely well. So that's that. But then they took a chance on him. He didn't play the whole rookie year. Played a sophomore year. Obviously played well. Played another year. Played even better. He took a big jump. And then he got that mega extension. But this year he's had another back injury, which is scary because it's a reoccurring issue. So, and then he also has that huge contract going into next season. But I think the Nuggets are playing it safe because they're thinking like, why risk it? All right, we have him locked down for the next 5 years. We want him to be good in those next 5 years. So why risk making his injury worse and try to rush him back to this season? Let's get the surgery done, let him recover fully, and let him come back stronger than ever. And that's what the Nuggets are hoping for, because they're going to be paying him tons of money for the next 5 years, like insane amount of money. So really hope he does develop, comes back better than ever. Let's talk about the games today. Before we do that, let's talk about Kemba and Blake Griffin getting benched. They weren't performing well for their teams at all. And Alec Burks is now the starting point guard for the New York Knicks. And he's played extremely well. He had put up 25 points this last game against Brooklyn. I think he had another 20-point game. He's a point guard now, apparently. He was a small forward. Now he's a point guard. I think he's the most underrated player on the Knicks roster. 100%. Because his name goes unnoticed. But I think he's like probably the fifth best player on that roster in terms of just talent and where he's ranked overall. So that's really good for him getting a starting role and performing well as well to go along with that. Another thing, Blake Griffin getting benched. He again is just took it really well. As long as Kemba's also taking it well. You can see it on the bench. They're really enthusiastic for their teammates, but he's out of the rotation. So that's that. These stars that we've seen who've done very well in the past have not been doing that well right now because Kemba just cannot produce offense, and Blake Griffin can't play defense for his life. So that's the situation, because Blake Griffin's supposed to be a small ball center, but he literally cannot play defense, and he also can't hit the shots now apparently too. So it just hasn't worked out for Brooklyn with him. Next thing I want to talk about a couple games. So the first game I want to talk about, Warriors Suns, great game all around. Biggest thing would be turnovers for that game. That game was just turnovers on tops of turnovers. It was actually bad. At one point, I think it was like before we enter the half, it was like turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover. There was not a point where like one team was capitalizing on the turnovers. Curry didn't have a great game. I'm gonna pull up the stats, but he didn't have a great game, and the Suns did win by about double digits. I think about 10. So it was close throughout the whole thing. When the fourth quarter, they really did make that separation. Devin Booker did leave after like the first quarter with hamstring tightness. So good for the Suns for still winning that game. And yeah, looking at the box scores, Steph Curry had 12 points on 4 for 21 from shooting and 3 for 14 from 3. Not a really great game. Jordan Poole had a great game, actually, though. He put up 18 points in the first quarter, which is the most he's ever put in one single quarter in his entire career. So Jordan Poole stepped up in lieu of Curry, but again, still couldn't get the job done. And looking at the Suns, again, just a very good game for DeAndre Ayton. 24 points, 11 rebounds, just great defensively. There was points where the Warriors literally couldn't get anything inside because he was blocking or just not letting any shots go. So good for DeAndre Ayton on that front. Chris Paul, great game, 15 and 11. Things you expect from him. Jay Carter also was good from 3. He was just that knockdown 3 guy who you kick it out to. He went 4 from 3, 14 points for him. Mikal Bridges, very underrated. Although he did put up 2 points. He was guarding Curry the whole game, and Curry had a horrible game in terms of in his standards. So I think Mikal Bridges is one of the most valuable players in this game itself. And then JaVale McGee and DeAndre Ayton, I think, is the best center duo in the league. JaVale McGee is super underrated. I think he played phenomenal this game. And just, again, very underrated duo. Is there anything else? Yeah, but let's talk about the Brooklyn Knicks game. So, close game all around. It was just a game of runs. And if you just go through if you look at the game flow, it's just a game of runs. Brooklyn went on a run, New York went on a run, and that all went into to the end where Final seconds, it was 97 to 100, I believe, and then there was a really good screen on Evan Fournier. The Brooklyn didn't switch. Evan Fournier hit a super, like, the threes that you take 1,000 shots for, where you get the ball 1-2, put it up, turn and put it up. Crook three, nailed that. But then he left 17 seconds on the clock. You got to take that shot no matter what because you're not getting a better look than that. But he left 17 seconds on the clock, and then New York fouled. They got 2 free throws. Brooklyn got 2 free throws, made both of them. And then Evan Fournier tried an impossible shot from almost half court, couldn't make it. And that's how the game ended. James Harden had a great first half, 28 points in the first half. Did get shut down in this third quarter with only 2 points, and had about 8 points not 8 points. He had like about 6 points in the fourth. So didn't have a great second half, but did have a great first half, and that's probably what kept Brooklyn in the game. Just overall, really good game to watch. You can tell that the crowd. It was funny because the crowd was like cheering for the Knicks along with Brooklyn. So Brooklyn, I don't think really has that strong of a fan base, which you kind of expect because they were a mediocre team for so long, and you just saw the team you want to support. When you got the Knicks right there, who are a big market, big franchise, everyone's rooting for the Knicks. So that was that with that whole game in terms of crowd energy. But great game to watch. Great game to watch. I loved watching that game. It was just a good game to watch. That'll be it for this episode. That's all that happened November 30th, 2021 in the NBA. Thanks for watching. Watch the next one. Thank you. See you.